I have been in search of this mod for months, and I have finally found it. Welcome to Creeps in the Deeps, everyone. I had heard that this mod added just an enormous amount of content way back when, and I can say with the utmost certainty that those folk were not kidding. So, Wagner Darrow, well done. Very well done. This may just be one of the most extensive mods I have ever seen. So, let's discuss. Creeps in the Deeps sends us underwater to a land full of marine life, scattered among a handful of new biomes, like the dense sea sponge sands, the coral plains that house the brainy sprouts from Shipwrecked even, lush green kelp forests, home to quite the unique life, compact coral reefs, magma biomes with new minerals and creatures, entire shipwreck graveyards for Pete's sake, with the added addition of an old friend, and even a ruins-like secondary location, of which we'll talk about later. But how the heck do we even get to any of it? Well, 3 new sinkhole-esque locations will appear somewhere on the map, but don't fret. They all look the dang same and are very distinguishable. Locate forest turf areas that are covered in bones and mushroom spawns to know that you are in the right place. That is great and all, but before we go gun-ho and start roaming the bottom of the ocean, we gotta talk a new status effect. Oxygen. With no diving gear of any kind, it will drop very quickly, and if it hits 0, you're in big trouble. Now, there are things called bubbling vents that when approached or stood upon will give us some O2, but it's only temporary obviously. Oxygen will fall even with gear, but the gear will allow for safer, longer, further travel down here. So, let's get some. That said, it's not gonna be so easy. And I kind of appreciate that, as it makes the player feel like they actually earned their place to dive into this mod. And you'll come to find that most of the progression here follows suit. You will need to work for it. Snorkeling gear here will likely be your first set of diving gear overall. And at the end of the day, it slows the rate of oxygen loss down to roughly 1 every 2 seconds or so. So yes, still quite fast, but way better than nothing. However, oxygen ain't your only trouble. You'll notice a major speed reduction down here as well. But to remedy that, as well as help against potential weather effects, we will need a wetsuit. That last ingredient is a new material, sponge. And sponge is gotten easily via sponge itself down under. And as far as I can tell, there are only 2 types, red circular sponge and yellow tubular sponge. Better pick some to make life easier for you, as with the wetsuit on, of course, the movement penalty is no longer a thing. Now there is an alternative of sorts, called the dry suit. However, the function is all the same. The only difference is that the wetsuit is meant for diving in summer, when the water may get a bit hotter than usual, while the dry suit is for winter diving, as it will keep you warmer for longer. As an aside to the heat thing, however, many geothermal vents can be found down there that can also serve to heat you up when needed. And I mean like really heat you up, so be mindful there. But if one truly wishes to be a dive master, look no further than the submarine helmet. While this is atop your noggin, the rate at which oxygen drops slows all the way down to but 1 every 20 seconds. But what is that middle material there? Well, that is iron, folks. A new mineral found in iron veins down in certain biomes underwater. You are going to want to get some as soon as possible in order to get the most out of your subsequent dives for sure. But before we move on to the fun stuff, there is one last item we must mention. Issue is, we gotta work for it. To do so, we're gonna need 3 coral clusters. And to make coral clusters, we need 3 of each new type of coral from the deep below. You can find them all over the place. However, there is an entire biome dedicated to them. So hopefully you find that. Picking the stuff injures you all the time. So, best have some armor to mitigate the damage. Once you've got all that, we will still be missing 3 mysterious pearls. We need them to craft the pearl amulet. So head on down again and find these massive clams. These clams drop the pearls we need and work very similar to cave spiders and or snortles in that they hide in their shells after being attacked, negating damage by 95% in this case. So just hit them and wait for them to open back up again before hitting them again. Easy peasy. Now, as for the amulet itself, it allows you to never drop in oxygen levels in exchange for a small sanity drain over time, on top of the one that you already have, because technically this is still the caves. So it is clearly one of the better items to use while down here, but the issue with it is that it takes your armor slot. Therefore, you cannot wear wetsuits, and thus it will render you very, very slow as long as you wear it. Every single ocean fish, big, small, unique, and even somewhat new, is down here. From runty guppies, mudfish, corncods, koi, bass, pufferfish, you name it. They also all drop the very same loot as they do up above. So really, just the biggest takeaway here is that we can actually catch them with a bug net instead of having to use a dang sea fishing rod. So that's good stuff. Fish gotten from fish farms within Shipwrecked also make an appearance. Tropical fish, purple groupers, Perot fish, and neon quattros are all catchable and edible. Only the usual bonuses they bring are not actually present, sadly. They just get murdered into their dead variants as well. Nothing special about their meat, unlike some others may have. Dogfish are also added and are about as annoying to catch as they always have been. Nothing too special here either. They're just added to bring diversity really, and you know what? That's okay. And while some fish can be caught with nets, others cannot. So, make note there. Swordfish slice their way over to the Don't Starve together with this mod as well, and are about as aggressive as ever to be expected. While they do have increased health, they are slower than normal, so they really should be no big deal. Just be careful down here anyways, because not everything is as it appears. Stingrays make an appearance, although they aren't nearly as hostile as their shipwrecked cousins, and are far less stinky to boot. Jellyfish shock their way into the spotlight again, and yes, they will shock ya all the same as in Shipwrecked. Unless, of course, you actually use a net to scoop them up. The mod even throws in the salmon we used to fish out of the ponds in the Gorge event, for Pete's sake, which just goes to show how populated these seas can actually be. There are actually 2 types of squid to run into. The very familiar skitter squid, and the new, non-hostile kind that I just brutally murdered for no reason. And by the by, it does kind of look like the skitter squids even have undergone some aggression taming as well. There is a whole new type of eel that is very aggressive, albeit slow and weak. Their bites, however, without armor that is, really hurt. So be very aware around these creepy things, especially when they aggro on ya from kind of out of nowhere. Deep sea jellyfish, or simply put, the blue jellies, can shock ya even if you don't hit them, so be mindful there. Furthermore, once you actually do hit one, the rest nearby aren't exactly going to take kindly to that, so be sure not to get shockingly overrun. Oh, I should also mention that every hit taken down here will reduce oxygen levels a little bit, so be careful. You'll find teensy tiny shrimp bouncing around too, and when killed, they will drop a unique food item called shrimp tails. Good stuff. Rainbow jellyfish are a thing too, and won't shock ya as always, but they will give off light when consumed. Unfortunately, it's not colorful rave-like light as it is in Shipwrecked, but it's light all the same. Sea cucumbers are all but dotted about and supposedly spoil in 6 days into a high hunger food of sorts. So, pick them up. One could catch a goldfish and murder it into an actual piece of gold itself. And to build on that, there was also a mech fish that gets murdered into gears, which is pretty fun. Certain biomes have tidal pools appear, and they're the most annoying bloody thing ever. Not too sure if one can even use anything to combat them either, which just sucks even more. Even normal fish that we're used to seeing will appear, and heck, they even fight back unlike most of the rest. You can't catch them with the net, which is odd, and you'll notice that some fish drop fish fillets now instead of their typical drops, but honestly, the loot tables being all over the place is not a bad thing. No, it is bad, killing crabbits now, because the rest don't even mourn their fallen comrades. But hey, look everyone, crabbits are in Don't Starve together. And look who else made it. The squid dinner for 70. the Kraken. Now, this fight is just unbelievably unbalanced, and you'll know what I mean when you try it. And there's no point in showing it, especially when the loot is kinda lackluster for the time being. That said, there is still bloody more to list about this mod, so let's just try to wrap this up before we all get wrinkly. Remember that ruins-like arena thing? To get there, you need to venture through a hamlet-like cave cleft or a special underwater entrance in the caves. In it, we have sea chests guarded by traps, pots like in Hamlet with very similar loot tables it seems, cages that don't really appear to do nothing but can be hammered for stuff if you wish, merm statues that can be mined for nothing but look kinda neat, and strangely a huge tapestry with a merm king and merm guards around it. You can actually wear a disguise to blend in and all that, but you can't trade or feed the king. So it kind of just looks like they're there just to be there, if you know what I mean. Bioluminescence is here and don't starve together as well, and can be caught with the bug net to then be used to refill lanterns and the like, and you just gotta love that beautiful blue glow. Sea chests can be found randomly elsewhere too, but their loot ain't too worth it no matter where you find them, it seems. Limpets make their return if anyone is looking for a gooey yet rocky snack along the sea floor. Seagrass gives chunks of seagrass, which are actually food items alone, but are needed for new recipes, of which we'll discuss here in a minute. Kelp stalks can be axed for kelp fronds, with a chance to spawn a kelpie, a new hostile mob with a long attack range and big health pool. So honestly, it is just best to tank it because their damage ain't that great. Their loot also ain't that great either, mind you. Sea hounds from Shipwrecked also make their way over to the seas of Don't Starve Together, so watch yourself down here. Sea tentacles are a thing, and can actually disarm you or even knock off your diver's gear if it hits you, so do not get slapped silly. And even though there is somehow still much more I didn't even cover, let us just finally end with sponge cake, gesso sushi, and fish and chips. Really just the 3 new recipes that I knew how to make, because there's even more to discover. At the end of the day, folks, this mod is just way too big to hit on everything. You just gotta play it yourself. But well done, Wagner Darrow. Well flippin' done. There is not much else to say apart from have fun with the creeps of the deeps, everyone. Thanks for watching, well wishes to all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.